On the morning I found out my husband had been living a second life, I was standing beside his coffin with a white rose in my hand. Everyone thought I was crying because Daniel was dead. I was not. I was crying because a woman in a black dress had leaned over his coffin, touched the polished wood with 2 fingers, and whispered, "You promised me we would be rich by Friday." She did not know I heard her. She did not know that one small sentence would save my life. And she definitely did not know that before the month was over, Daniel's perfect plan would fall apart in front of half the county. 2 detectives, 1 insurance investigator, and the same church pastor who had just prayed over his empty coffin. My name is Claire Wetaker. I was 40 when my husband died for the first time. I say the first time, because the man I buried was not really dead. At least, Daniel Wetaker was not dead. The body in the coffin was somebody else. But I did not know that yet. At that moment, I was just a grieving wife in a small town in Tennessee, wearing a black dress I had bought in a hurry. 3 days earlier, 2 state troopers told me Daniel's truck had gone over a bridge during a storm. It burned before it hit the water. The body was too damaged to see. Dental records confirmed it. Everything sounded official. Because I was tired, shocked, and sick with grief, I believed them. Daniel and I had been married for 17 years. We lived in a white house with blue shutters at the end of Miller Road. We had no children. Life had never made room for them. I owned a small bakery called Honey Street Kitchen. Daniel worked in construction, or at least that was what he told me. That is the cruel thing about betrayal. It is not only the final lie. It is all the little lies you forgave before it. The late nights, the phone turned face down. The perfume smell he blamed on a client. I noticed all of it, but I explained it away because I loved him. Love can make you kind. It can also make you blind. At the funeral, the church was full. Daniel had always been popular, in that easy way charming men are popular. He knew how to make people laugh, how to make old ladies feel seen, and how to make me feel lucky in private, then invisible in public. People kept hugging me and saying, he was a good man. After the 10th time, the words began to sound like a song I hated. I stood near the coffin, nodding, thanking people, trying not to fall apart. Daniel's mother, Ruth, sat in the front pew with a handkerchief pressed to her mouth. His best friend, Mark Ellison, stood beside her. Mark was a lawyer. He had already offered to handle everything. For me. That was the first thing I should have questioned. But grief makes you grateful for anyone who speaks in complete sentences. Then the woman came. She was not from our town. Her black dress fit too perfectly. Her heels were too high for church carpet. Her blonde hair looked expensive even when it moved. She did not look sad. She looked angry. I watched her walk down the aisle alone. No one stopped her. She stood at the coffin for a long moment. Then she leaned down, close enough that her lips almost touched the lid. "You promised me we would be rich by Friday," she whispered. My whole body went cold. I turned my head just enough to see her face. For 1 second, her eyes met mine. There was no guilt in them. There was fear. Then she looked away and walked out. I wanted to follow her, but Mark stepped in front of me with that lawyer smile of his. "Claire," he said softly, "the pastor is ready." I looked at him. Then at the church doors closing behind the woman. Something inside me shifted. It was small, but it was real. A crack opened in my grief, and suspicion crawled through it. After the burial, people came back to my house with casseroles and soft voices. Daniel's framed photo sat on the counter beside a candle. He was smiling in it, but not the soft smile I remembered from when we were young. It was the public smile, the one that never reached his eyes. Ruth came over and touched my arm. "Mark says you need to meet him tomorrow about the insurance." The insurance? I asked. She nodded. Daniel had a policy. A large one. Mark said it should help you keep the house. I had no idea what she was talking about. Daniel and I had life insurance. Yes, but nothing large. Just enough to cover the mortgage for a little while. Years ago, he said big policies were a waste of money. How large? I asked. Ruth looked away. I don't know. Honey, Mark said he would explain. That night, after everyone left, I locked every door and sat at the kitchen table with Daniel's phone in front of me. The police had returned his belongings in a plastic bag. Wallet, watch, keys. Phone. The phone was cracked, but it turned on. I knew his password, or I thought I did. Our anniversary did not work. His birthday did not work. My birthday did not work. Then I tried something I hated myself for thinking. 0914. September 14th. The date of his first wife's birthday. Daniel had been married once before me, for less than a year, back when he was young. He rarely talked about her. Her name was Leela. The phone unlocked. For a long time, I just sat there, staring at the screen, feeling the last warm piece of my marriage turn to ice. There were almost no messages, no photos, no emails. It was too clean. But there was one app I did not recognize. It looked like a weather app, but when I opened it, a passcode screen appeared. Before I could try anything, the phone buzzed in my hand. A message appeared from a blocked number. Stop looking, Claire. I dropped the phone like it had burned me. For 5 full minutes, I did not move. The house was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and the ticking clock over the stove. The phone buzzed again. This time, I made myself pick it up. The second message said, if you want to live, do not sign anything Mark gives you. I called the number. It went straight to nothing. Not voicemail. Not a busy signal. Just silence, then the call ended. I did not sleep that night. By sunrise, my grief had changed shape. It was still grief, but now it had sharp edges. The Part 2. The warning on the phone the next morning. Mark arrived at 10 with a leather folder and a sympathetic face. He sat in Daniel's chair at my kitchen table without asking. I noticed that. I also noticed the way his eyes moved around the room, checking the counters, the mail pile, Daniel's photo. How are you holding up? He asked. I'm breathing, I said. He gave a soft laugh. That's all anyone can ask. Then he opened the folder and slid papers toward me. Daniel increased his life insurance 6 months ago. Mark said. $2 million. The room seemed to tilt. 2 million. Yes? He wanted you protected. That was the moment I almost laughed. Daniel had complained for 3 weeks when I bought a new oven for the bakery. He said we could not afford risks. He said I dreamed too big. But he had secretly paid premiums on a $2 million policy. Mark put a pen beside the papers. There are some forms we can start today, he said. Nothing complicated. I looked at the pen. Then I heard the message again in my mind. Do not sign anything Mark gives you. I need time, I said. Mark's smile stayed, but his eyes changed. Of course. But delays can create problems. What kind of problems? Insurance companies look for reasons not to pay. We want to keep everything clean. Everything clean. There was that word again. Clean phone. Clean paperwork. Clean story. I folded my hands in my lap so he would not see them shaking. Leave the papers, I said. I'll read them. Mark hesitated. I should really walk you through them. I said I'll read them. For the first time in 17 years of knowing him, Mark looked at me like he had underestimated me. Good. After he left, I photographed every page. Then I drove to the bakery, locked the door, turned off the lights, and sat in the back office with Daniel's phone, the insurance papers, and cold coffee. I searched online for the woman from the funeral. First, I found nothing. Then I searched Daniel's first wife, Leila, near Knoxville. That is when I found her, Leila Monroe. Real estate broker. Nashville. Luxury lake homes. Divorced twice. Charity photos. Champagne photos. Rooms bigger than my entire bakery. And one photo from 8 months earlier. A fundraiser at a hotel in Chattanooga. Leila stood near the back of the photo, laughing. Beside her, half turned from the camera, was Daniel. My dead husband. He was supposed to be in Atlanta that weekend for a construction conference. I remember because I had packed his suitcase. I remember because he had kissed my forehead before he left and told me not to work too hard. I zoomed in until his face blurred. There he was, alive, smiling, wearing the blue tie I gave him for Christmas. The betrayal did not hit me like a slap. It hit me like drowning. Slow, heavy, filling every part of me until I could not breathe. I ran to the bakery bathroom and threw up. When I came back to the office, there was a folded envelope pushed halfway under the back door. No stamp. No name. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside was a single photograph. Daniel standing at a marina, alive, 3 days before his funeral. On the back, someone had written, "He is not gone. He is leaving." I locked the bakery, got in my car, and drove straight to the police station. Detective Anna Gomez met me in a small room that smelled like burnt coffee. She was calm, with tired eyes that missed nothing. I told her everything: the woman at the funeral, the texts, Mark, the insurance policy, and the photo. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she said, "Ms. Whittaker, I believe you believe what you're saying." "That's not the same as believing me." "No," she said. "It's not?" I felt my temper rise. My husband is alive. Dental records confirmed the body. Then the records were wrong. Or someone made them wrong, she said. I stopped. Detective Gomez leaned back. "I'm not dismissing you. I'm telling you this is bigger than a cheating husband if you're right. Insurance fraud. Identity fraud. Possible homicide, depending on who was in that truck." The word homicide landed hard. I had been so focused on Daniel being alive that I had not fully thought about the body. Someone had died in that crash. Someone with teeth close enough, or records changed enough, to be called Daniel. Gomez took copies of everything. She told me not to confront anyone. She told me to act normal. She told me to send her any messages I received. "Can you protect me?" I asked. She looked at me for a moment too long. "I can try," she said. That answer scared me more than no would have. For 3 days I became two people. In public, I was the grieving widow. In private, I became the woman Daniel should have feared. I searched every drawer, every coat pocket, every toolbox in the garage. I checked vents, paint cans, old boots, the space under floorboards in the hall closet. I found nothing until the 4th night, when a thunderstorm rolled over town and the power flickered. I went to the basement to check the breaker. Behind the old freezer, I noticed fresh scratches on the wall. The freezer was heavy, but anger makes you strong. I pushed it inch by inch until I saw a loose panel. Behind it was a small metal box. Inside were 3 things: a burner phone, a key with the number 1 or 17 on a plastic tag, and a passport with Daniel's photo, but not Daniel's name. The passport said Thomas Reed. I sat on the basement floor, rain hammering the windows, and laughed. It was not a happy sound. It was the sound a person makes when the world finally admits it has been lying. The burner phone had no lock. Daniel had been careful with some things and arrogant with others. That was his problem. He always believed he was the smartest person in the room. The phone held messages between Daniel and Leila. Some were romantic. I skipped those. I did not need every knife twisted. Some were practical. Mark says C will sign if we push grief angle. Truck will be ready Tuesday. Dental file handled. Storage paid through next month. After payout, we disappear. One message made my blood stop. Daniel had written, "If Claire digs too much, we use Plan B." Leela had replied, "I don't like Plan B." Daniel answered, "It worked on Evan." I stared at the name. The dead man had a name. I called Detective Gomez, even though it was almost midnight. She answered on the third ring. "I found his passport," I said. "And messages. They mentioned someone named Ivan." There was a pause. Then she said, "Do not stay in that house tonight." The way she said it made my skin crawl. I packed a small bag, grabbed the metal box, and drove through the storm to my bakery. I slept on the office couch with a rolling pin beside me, like it was a baseball bat. At 6 a.m, someone tried the back door. The knob turned once. Then again. I sat up, frozen. The bakery was dark. Rain ran down the windows. The knob stopped. A shadow moved past the frosted glass. Then my phone buzzed. A new message from a block number. "I told you to stop looking." I called Gomez. She sent a patrol car. By the time they arrived, whoever it was had gone. But they left something behind. A white rose on the back step. The same kind I had held at Daniel's coffin. Fear is strange. At first, it makes you small. Then, if it stays too long, it turns into something else. Mine turned into fury. I was done being Daniel's quiet wife. I was done being Mark's easy signature. I was done being Leela's obstacle. Pop up us, up, ups, up a, teach, mamen, atthe funeral part 3. The dead man named Evan, Detective Gomez, told me the key tag likely belonged to a storage facility. There were 4 facilities in town and 2 near the marina. She said the police needed time for warrants. Time was exactly what I did not think I had. So I did something stupid. I went looking myself. I am not proud of that. But I promised myself I would tell this story honestly. At the second storage place, the old man at the counter recognized the number on the tag. "Unit 117, he said. "Paid up through the end of the month." He looked at me over his glasses. "You got ID?" I slid Daniel's driver's license across the counter with my thumb, covering the first name just enough. He looked at the last name, looked at my exhausted face, and buzzed me through. Unit 117 sat at the far end of the property. The sky was gray. The rows of orange doors seemed to stretch forever. Every step I took echoed. The key fit. Inside the unit, I found Daniel's future suitcases, cash, new clothes, fake IDs, a laptop, a folder labeled Belize, and a map with a route marked from Tennessee to Florida, then south by boat. I took pictures of everything. Then I heard tires on gravel. My heart slammed against my ribs. Through the gap under the storage door, I saw a black SUV stop outside. 2 people got out, a man and a woman. I knew the woman's shoes before I saw her face. Leela. The man was Mark. I stepped behind a stack of boxes and held my breath. The storage door rattled. Mark swore. "It's unlocked." Leela's voice was sharp. Daniel said he checked it. I was getting sloppy. They came inside. I could see them through a narrow space between boxes. Leela wore sunglasses even though there was no sun. Mark carried a gun in his right hand. That was the moment everything became real in a new way. This was not just money. This was not just cheating. This was danger. Leela opened one of the suitcases. "Some cash is missing," Mark said. "He took it? For what? Who knows? He's hiding until the insurance clears." "And Claire?" Mark sighed. "She's suspicious." Leela laughed, but it shook. She looked right at me at the funeral. "You shouldn't have gone." "I wanted to see the end." Mark stepped closer to her. "It's not the end until she signs." My phone was in my pocket. I had set it to record before opening the unit. I prayed it was still recording. Leela lowered her voice. "And if she doesn't?" Mark did not answer right away. Then he said, "Then Daniel gets his plan B." I did not wait to hear more. There was a small side door at the back of the unit, half hidden by a shelf. I had noticed it when I came in. I slipped through it, scraping my arm on metal, and ran between 2 rows of storage buildings. Behind me, Leela shouted, "Someone's here!" I ran harder. I reached my car, got in and locked the doors. Mark appeared at the end of the row, gun at his side, trying not to look like a man chasing a woman through a storage lot in daylight. I started the engine and backed out so fast I hit a trash bin. Then I drove straight to the police station, shaking so badly I could barely hold the wheel. This time, Detective Gomez did not ask if I was sure. She took my phone, listened to the recording, and called someone from another room. When she came back, her face was different. "We found Evan," she said. I gripped the chair. "The man in the truck." She nodded and read. 46, no close family. He worked odd jobs near the marina. He disappeared the same week your husband died. Daniel killed him. "We don't know yet." But her eyes said what her mouth would not. I felt sick. I had been married to a man who could turn another human being into a prop for his escape. I thought of Evan. I wondered if anyone had cried for him. I wondered if he had trusted Daniel, maybe taken a job, maybe accepted a ride, maybe believed a charming man who knew how to sound generous. That night, I did not cry for Daniel. I cried for Evan Reed. And then I made a decision. I was not going to run. I was not going to hide. I was going to help bring all of them down. Detective Gomez introduced me to a man named Aaron Price, an investigator with the insurance company. He was quiet, careful, and very interested in Daniel's $2 million policy. Together, they explained what they needed. Daniel, Leela, and Mark had been careful, but not perfect. They needed me to sign documents to move the claim forward. They needed me emotional, obedient, and alone. They believed grief had made me weak. So we let them believe it. The plan was simple, which made it terrifying. I would call Mark, apologize, and say I wanted to sign the papers. Then I would say I had found Daniel's note. There was no note. We invented it. I would say the note told me to go to the old marina office before signing. If Mark was part of the plan, he would tell Daniel. If Daniel was alive, Daniel would come. Absolutely not. I said it first. I'm not bait. Gomez looked at me. You already are. This way? We control the room. I hated that she was right. The next morning, I called Mark on speaker while Gomez and Price listened. He answered warmly. Too warmly. "Claire, I've been worried." "I'm sorry," I said, making my voice small. "I haven't been thinking clearly." "No one expects you to. I want to sign. I want this over." "That's good," he said. "Daniel would want you taken care of." I closed my eyes. "He left me a note," I whispered. Silence. Almost nothing. "What note?" Mark asked. I found it in his old jacket. It said if anything happened to him, I should go to the marina office before I signed anything. "Do you know what that means?" Mark's voice changed by half a shade. "No." "What time are you going?" "Tonight. 7. Claire, that place is abandoned. You shouldn't go alone." "I have to." It was Daniel's last wish. The words tasted bitter, but they worked. After I hung up, no one spoke for a moment. Then Aaron Price said, "He took the bait. Ep. F-E, tap, E moment. A-T-T-H-E. Funeral Part 4, The Trap at the Marina. The old marina office sat at the edge of Douglas Lake, about 20 minutes outside town. It had been closed for years. The windows were dusty. The docks creaked in the wind. In winter, it looked like the kind of place secrets went to rot. At 6:30 that evening, Detective Gomez wired a tiny microphone under my shirt. Officers hid nearby. Aaron Price sat in a van with recording equipment. I wore the same black coat from the funeral. "You do not go inside unless I say it is clear," Gomez told me. I nodded at Claire. She touched my shoulder. "You are brave. But brave does not mean careless." I know. I did not know. Not really. I was shaking so badly my teeth hurt. At 7 o'clock, I walked toward the marina office alone. The lake was dark silver. Every board creaked beneath my feet. I could feel the wire against my skin and the eyes of hidden officers, but I still felt alone. The office door was open. Inside, a lamp glowed on an old desk, and there he was. Daniel. Alive. For a second, the world forgot how to move. He stood near the back wall wearing jeans, a gray hoodie, and a baseball cap pulled low. His beard was longer. His hair was darker, probably dyed. But it was him. Same shoulders. Same hands. Same mouth that had kissed me goodnight while planning my ruin. He smiled when he saw me. Not with shame, with relief. "Claire," he said. "You came." Hearing his voice was worse than seeing his face. Something inside me cracked again, but this time it did not break me. It opened space for rage. "You're alive," I said. He held out both hands. "I can explain." That almost made me laugh. Of all the sentences in the world, cheating men always choose that one, as if explanation can clean blood. I stepped inside because I needed his words on tape. Behind me, the door moved slightly in the wind. Or so I thought. Daniel's eyes flicked over my shoulder. Someone was behind me. Before I could turn, Leela closed the door and locked it. She held a gun. My mouth went dry. Daniel sighed. "Leela, I told you to wait outside." "And I told you she's not stupid," Leela snapped. I looked at Daniel. Was any of it real? He frowned, like the question annoyed him. "This isn't about that. It is to me." He rubbed his face. "Claire, I was drowning. The debt, the house, your bakery loans, Mom's medical bills. I needed a way out. You killed a man for a way out." His face hardened. Evan was nobody. The words hung in the cold room. Evan was nobody. That was the sentence that damned him. Even Lila looked startled by how easily he said it. I took a small step forward. "He was a person." Daniel shrugged. "You always were sentimental." 17 years of marriage ended right there. It ended when he called a dead man nobody. Daniel moved closer. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to sign the forms. You're going to tell Mark you were confused and grieving. Then you're going to go home and live your life. And you. I'll be gone. With her." Leela lifted her chin, but she did not look proud anymore. She looked trapped. I turned to her. "He'll leave you too." "Shut up," she said. "He left his first wife. Then me. You think you're special because he came back." Her hand tightened on the gun. Daniel stepped between us. "Enough." I kept my eyes on Leela. "At the funeral, you said he promised you would be rich by Friday. Did he also promise you he would love you when the money ran out?" "Claire," Daniel warned. But I had found the crack. Leela's eyes shone with angry tears. "You don't know anything," she said. "I know he let you walk into a church and whisper over a coffin with another man inside it. I know he is standing here letting you hold the gun while he keeps his hands clean. I know if this goes bad, he will blame you." Daniel's mask slipped, only for a second. But Leela saw it. Outside, a board creaked. Daniel heard it too. His head snapped toward the window. "What did you do?" he asked. I looked at him and smiled. It was not a kind smile. "It worked on Ivan," I said softly. His face went white. Leela stared at him. "What is she talking about?" The Daniel lunged for me. The door burst open. Detective Gomez shouted, "Police! Drop the gun!" Everything happened fast after that. Leela screamed and dropped the gun. Daniel grabbed my arm and pulled me back against him. I felt something sharp against my side. A knife. His breathing was hot near my ear. "Back up!" he shouted. For one terrifying second, I thought this was how I would die. Not in some grand movie moment, just in a dusty marina office, held by a man I once trusted with my life. Gomez aimed her weapon but did not fire. "Daniel," she said calmly. "Let her go." He laughed. "You have nothing." Aaron Price's voice came from the doorway. "We have everything." Daniel froze. Price held up a small recorder. Including Evan was nobody. Daniel's grip tightened. I could barely breathe. Then Leela spoke. "Daniel," she said. He turned his head slightly. She looked broken now. Not innocent. Just broken. "You said he died fast?" she whispered. Daniel said nothing. That silence answered her. Leela covered her mouth. I used that second. Detective Gomez had told me, if someone grabbed me, drop my weight, twist toward the thumb, and move. I did it badly, but badly was enough. I dropped hard, twisted, and slammed my elbow back. Daniel cursed. The knife cut through my coat, grazing my side. Officers rushed him. I hit the floor and crawled toward the desk as Daniel shouted my name like I had betrayed him. That was the strangest part. After everything he had done, he still thought I owed him loyalty. They handcuffed him on the floor. His cap had fallen off. His dyed hair looked ridiculous under the yellow lamp. For the first time. Not charming. Not powerful. Not clever. Just small. He lifted his head and looked at me. "Claire," he said, breathing hard. "Please." I stood slowly, holding my side. For 17 years, that word would have moved me, please. I would have forgiven a late night, a bad mood, a lie, a cruel comment. I would have told myself love was work and marriage was mercy. But mercy without truth is just another cage. "No," I said. That was my revenge. Not screaming, not hitting him, not begging him to explain. Just no. One small word I should have learned years earlier. Tapa apa abap sap ti apa atechi mom n aat funeral part 5. The woman who survived after Daniel's arrest. People who had called him a good man avoided saying his name. Everyone wanted to believe they had suspected him all along. They had not. Neither had I. I had slept beside a stranger and called it marriage. The investigation grew bigger than anyone expected. Mark was arrested trying to cross into Georgia with cash and a fake passport. Leela made a deal with prosecutors. I did not like that, but her testimony helped prove what happened to Evan. Avon Reed had been hired by Daniel for a repair job near the marina. Daniel had chosen him because he was alone. Because no one would ask too many questions. Avon had been drugged before the truck went over the bridge. I will not describe more than that. Some details do not need to be spoken to be understood. Daniel had switched dental records with Mark's help. Mark had access to legal contacts, medical paperwork, and enough arrogance to think no one would check twice. The fire and water were supposed to hide the rest, and I was supposed to sign. That was my role in their story. The grieving wife, the simple woman, the easy ending. They forgot I had a story of my own. The trial happened 11 months later. By then, I had cut my hair, sold Daniel's truck for parts, and painted the blue shutters on my house dark green. I reopened the bakery after 3 weeks. At first, customers came in quiet. Then one morning, a little girl laughed over a cupcake with too much frosting, and the room felt alive again. Healing is not one big sunrise. It is small things returning. Still, some nights were hard. I would wake at 2 in the morning and reach across the bed before remembering I was alone. Then I would remember why. Then I would feel foolish for missing anything about him. Detective Gomez told me that was normal. "You're not missing the criminal," she said. "You're missing the man you thought existed." That helped. A little. At the trial, Daniel wore a navy suit and tried to look like the victim of a misunderstanding. His lawyer painted me as bitter, unstable, and greedy for insurance money. Then I took the stand. I told the jury about the white rose, the woman in black, the whisper, the blocked messages, the storage unit, and the marina. I told them about Evan. Daniel looked at me only once, and I held his gaze. When the prosecutor played the recording, the courtroom went still. Daniel's voice filled the room. Even was nobody. I saw one juror close her eyes. That was the moment I knew he was finished. The jury found him guilty on the major charges: murder, conspiracy, insurance fraud, identity fraud, and attempted kidnapping. When the judge sentenced him, Daniel did not look at me. He looked at the floor. Good. Some people think revenge means destroying the person who hurt you. I learned real revenge is making sure the truth gets a chair in the room. It is making sure the person they called nobody is named. It is making sure they do not get to write the ending. After the sentencing, I went to Evan Reed's grave. There were no crowds there. No church full of mourners. No long line of people saying he was a good man. Just a small stone, fresh grass, and a name that deserved more than it got. I brought white roses. For a moment, I stood there with the flowers in my hands, thinking about the strange road that had led me to him. A stranger's death had uncovered my husband's life. A whisper at the wrong coffin had cracked open a lie. A man Daniel thought no one would miss had become the reason Daniel lost everything. "I'm sorry," I said to Evan. The wind moved through the trees. I placed the roses on his grave. Then I went home. A year after Daniel's fake funeral, I held a small gathering at the bakery. Not a celebration exactly, more like a reclaiming. Ruth came, and when she cried, I held her. Daniel was her son. Monster or not, that grief belonged to her. That evening, after everyone left, I turned off the bakery lights and stood alone behind the counter. The place smelled like sugar, cinnamon, coffee, and warm bread. For years, I had thought of the bakery as my small dream, the thing Daniel tolerated but never respected. Now it felt like proof that something honest could survive a house built on lies. I walked to the front window and looked at my reflection. For a second, I saw the woman from the funeral pale and shaking beside a coffin. Then the reflection changed. I saw myself as I was now. Older, yes. Marked, yes. But standing. The scar on my side from Daniel's knife had healed into a thin silver line. It reminded me that love should never require you to bleed quietly. Before locking up, I took Daniel's framed photo out of a drawer. I had kept it for reasons I could not explain. Habit, maybe. Or the last week thread of the life I thought I had. I looked at his smile one final time. Then I dropped the photo into the trash. Not angrily, not dramatically, just finished. On the walk home, the sky was clear, and the stars looked sharp above Miller Road. My house waited at the end, white walls, green shutters, porch light glowing. For the first time in years, it did not feel like a place I had shared with Daniel. It felt like mine. Inside, I made tea, sat at the kitchen table, and opened a notebook. On the first page, I wrote Evan Reed's name. Then I wrote my own. I did not know exactly what I was starting. Maybe a fund for people with no family. Maybe a yearly donation. Maybe just a promise that I would remember the man Daniel tried to erase. But it felt important. Truth is not only what we expose. Sometimes truth is what we choose to carry forward. People ask me sometimes if I hate Daniel. The answer is no. Hate is too much work, and he has already stolen enough of my life. I leave him where he belongs, behind bars, behind lies, behind me. As for Leela, I saw her once outside the courthouse. She looked like she wanted to apologize or explain. I did not stop. Not every apology deserves an audience. Mark wrote me a letter from jail. I never opened it. The strangest thing about surviving betrayal is that people expect you to become hard. But I do not want Daniel to decide the shape of my heart. I still believe in kindness. I just listen to my doubt now. When a man calls another person nobody, I know exactly who he is. And when someone tries to bury the truth, I remember a funeral, a whisper, and a white rose. I went to Daniel's funeral as a wife. I left it as a witness. And in the end, I did not bury my husband that day. I buried the woman who believed his lies.